friends, welcome back. Let's take a look at the charts together. Let's see if I can provide some sort of value today for you if you're out there trading the cryptocurrency. So we'll start off and we'll take a look at Bitcoin here. And I think what I'll do is one of those let's look across the market episodes where we look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chailnink, Tezos, and maybe a couple other little coins, and try and sort of pin together a bit of a story about how the overall markets are going, rather than just sort of focusing on one coin at a time, because I think it's valuable for people to do that from time to time, you know. So that's why we've been doing this once a week for the last few weeks. Okay, so starting off here and just taking a look. Actually, let's kind of briefly just sort of look at the headlines. Bitcoin has come up to this line here on the Schiff pitchfork, which is the upper line, and then right on there as it happens, and then retraced a little bit subsequently, looking at prices currently at 11,655. Let's jump on over to Ethereum, and we can see here that we've come up once again towards the 200, or the 200, that was a while ago, the $400 level, and then retrace just below it. So we're in around about that $400. We're looking at 2% up in the day, almost at the minute. So that's kind of coolio, mid-julio, as we can see here as well. We're just above that 236. So actually, as it happens, you know, looking at the 24-hour time frame, that we could be in for a close above this for the first time so far. You know, having consolidated before we cracked up here, which would be quite positive. But we'll have to take a closer look at that. Of course, let's just jump on over to Link and see where we are with Link. Well, we came up here, came up to the 786, right on it, then pulled back after all. So interesting. This is, of course, Link versus Bitcoin. We'll take a look at Link versus Dollar Coin in a second or two. And we've come back just down below the 618, and we're currently sat there at 82K. So where did that go up there as high as 88K? Yeah, 88,000. So just shy of 90,000. That's interesting, around that 786. So a bit of a pullback in the Link versus Bitcoin pricing, but you would have thought maybe, you know, this 6.5% pullback versus Bitcoin is, of course, mitigated somewhat by the fact that the bearishness of that is mitigated somewhat by the fact that, of course, we've come up here to the 1414 here on the USD pairing and then pulled back slightly from here, just sticking around probably where I couldn't be bothered doing that thing yesterday where I put in the 1272 or whatever it is in that area there. So maybe I should do that, whatever. That's where we are currently. We've pulled back slightly, so we've had a 2.5% pullback on Link today versus the dollar, but versus Bitcoin, that translates to 6.5%. Looking on the way, then what else do we have? We have Bitcoin, and again, you know, 6.5%, almost 6.17% against the Bitcoin pairing, and down 2% versus the dollar pairing. So if we look here, we can see that we came right in, jabbed the 382, jabbed it, and then sank back down. We're actually finding our feet just below the 236 currently. So let's hope that we don't get cold feet in terms of this upward movement versus Bitcoin. But of course, you know, this is at the mercy of a bigger sort of asset. Let's take a look at the dollar one as well and see where we've come to. Well, we came up, we did our measured move, the target, pulled back then subsequently afterwards, and let's see just how this wick did. Well, it came right down to our little line here. It found some support and moved up the way, and you can see that, well, in the sense that this story versus Bitcoin looks, you know, much harsher. That the dollar price in here, that, you know, we've went to the 886, which is a common enough retrace point as well, and pulled back a bit subsequently, but haven't done this close here where we've done a higher close than we did over here in the past. So, you know, we have actually achieved something in and of itself by closing up here. That is higher than the previous two areas here. So, you know, just in terms of the candles alone, that's not a super bearish story, but of course today's price action somewhat bearish on that front. So the sort of the daddies of the market, let's say, with Bitcoin and Ethereum, have achieved upward price action today, bullish price action. The other coins so far are looking a little bit more lackluster. Okay, now with that in mind, I suppose we could just jump on up. Shut up, Brave. Sorry, Brave. We could just take a quick look at a couple other things, such as the Bitcoin dominance chart. So coming down to these lowy lows down here, come on, 24-hour time frame. if you just scroll over to the left, you can see that we're very much at these lowy lows down here, and we've seen we've seen this pick up a bit, steal some of that money, you could say. Now, where's the money come from in order to push up the pricing here of Bitcoin? And Bitcoin has overall gone up 4.5% today. Is that right? Yeah, but we're looking at about 4% rise, we'll call it, for Bitcoin, 4.4% rise in Bitcoin. We're looking at a 6.5% drawdown in the price of Link, while the price in the dollar pricing hasn't gone down as much as that. You could maybe imagine that some of the money has come from to push up the Bitcoin pair, and it's come from trading between these other coins. Looking at things like XRP, which we know has done well versus the dollar, for instance, here you can see that we're up there at that 30 cents area. Having had a lot of that candle there, jeepers creepers. What's the range on this candle? Let's just take a second here. Look at that. 30% in the one candle. That was a big day for trading. I wasn't in on that, but if you benefit from that, then well done. If you suffered because of this, then that's XRP for you sometimes. Yeah, was it just on that exchange? It was across the exchanges as well. So so anyway, this has gone down 3%, but it's up against the dollar. Looking at other things, Tezos down 6%, but 2% up down against the dollar, but down 6% against Bitcoin. Hot, well, it doesn't really count for shit, does it? Ethereum Classic, it's actually up 2.5% against the dollar, but down 1.5% against Bitcoin. So when we see this happening, we can kind of wonder to ourselves: Are we looking at money moving over from the alts into the Bitcoin pairing, as opposed to necessarily new money coming into the market? Now, that's kind of interesting in a way, because we were talking in the Discord, or no, I say we, but actually it was everybody else. I just kind of read it later on, like a good old peeping Tom, and saw that people were talking about the price of gold and how it's gone to all-time highs and stuff like that. And you kind of think, well, maybe if people are moving their money away from traditional world in assets and things like the SPY ETF. Let's just take a look at SPY ETF real quick. People are moving their money away. Where are you hiding here? They're not really. It's gone. We've had a positive day today. 24-hour little gap on it and everything. So where are we actually at the minute? 332. Are we at 332? Oh, we're at 332. Oh well, gold's gone up to all-time high. This is what I was looking for, right? Okay, so right, by the way, people, just so that you know, if we look over to the left, you can quite clearly see there is a gap here. I wanted to talk about this before, but great, we're doing a look across the markets. Look across the markets with Rocky. Let me just double check I'm actually recorded, because I'd be annoyed if it wasn't. Cool, I am. Yeah, so if we take a wee rectangle guy here and stick it in like that, say, oh, look at this. Now, it's quite an ugly rectangle. Really, truly is. Now, what have we got here? We've got a gap, right, that was to the upside, and it's been filled now. Look at that. Bang. This is as much as the price actions want to come up so far today. Now, there is still time left trading, right? Yeah, there is, isn't there? Market open, of course. It's pretty late here. Not looking like it'll be about 3 p.m. New York, so there's still time. This could push on, and it could go up higher, right? It could. Or indeed, people could be looking down to, will we fill in this gap down here at 326, And would that start to be could that possibly be us then moving outside this parallel channel that we have drawn on here? Of course, this is fairly rough, as they always are on Rocky Outcrop Show. By the way, if you're just tuning in today for the first time, then hit that like and subscribe button. I would massively appreciate it. Anyway, we draw these fairly sloppily on, so we're not going to be too exact about it, getting knickers in a twist about this thing. But I would say that, for FFS, come on, Rocky. I would say that just looking at this, if we were to move outside of this channel towards the downside, and fill in this gap here, then maybe we could look towards the other gaps that we've got on the chart. Now, in the weekly chart here, you don't see many gaps because it's the weekly chart. This was a very significant one. Looking back here, this was the 18th of February, just before the market really had a massive, massive crash. This having been filled in here is somewhat significant. Looking at the way the gold has come up to its all-time highs, maybe there's a sort of disconnect there with the money that's flowing into this traditional markets while gold's putting on an all-time high. I mean, how often do you talk about people and they say that gold's a safe haven asset, say, oh, well, I would expect gold to reach all-time highs at the same time as we come back up and fill a gap which was just there right below the all-time high on the traditional markets. How often would you hear people saying that? Oh, I wouldn't expect gold to reach its all-time high until we saw the SPY market go back up to before we see the S&P 500 back up at its all-time highs. Then I think gold will be at its all-time highs. There is certainly a degree of what do you want to call it, confusion in the market. So, questions. Right, cool. I think that's a pretty solid introduction. It's lasted for quite a while, but it's a pretty solid introduction. Let's take a look, therefore, at what we were looking at in the recent... Oh, actually, no. Well, just before we move away, I did say that's the week. You don't see many in the weekly, but we were looking at the... we were looking at the weekly, and there's this big F-off gap there. It was sticking its face right in our charts. You might not have seen this yourself. I was talking about this last Saturday with a couple of guys in the Discord on the group chat, the general room, talking through the microphone and all. Wow, that was great. So this is really interesting. If you had just been playing this last week, by the way, anybody that was, those guys that were in the room or whatever, then that was a perfect long opportunity, and of course you would have taken profit there. You would have definitely taken profit there. Definitely, just as we've seen that people have done, definitely. So we'd have been part of that crowd that had been like, yeah, I'll sell this, yeah, cool. But we also wanted to look at the daily time frame here and just point out that there's a few other things, just kind of hanging around, like a big gap here, big gap here. There's gaps that can be filled. Now, you might have seen me talking as well a while back. You could search the channel, I think, for gaps or something like that. There'll be some videos. The most recent one where I'm talking specifically about gaps, and Alessio Rastani. You could see that. I kind of chat about them. Now, there's different ways of looking at it. It's kind of like his own interpretation of them, but I'm going to go into a couple of details about them that are easily overlooked, kind of the little bit more esoteric knowledge about it. And then certainly anyway, these gaps could absolutely get filled. Something to be aware of. Right, sound great. Moving on. Let's go to where we were yesterday. We drew this old Schiffy Whiffy on here, so Peter would be proud of us. Peter Schiff, looking at this. Of course, Peter Schiff is the guy that... No, he isn't. By the way, I make these jokes, by the way, from time to time where I say completely the wrong thing just for a laugh, but normally it's fairly obvious. Like if I'm talking about the CME charts being made by cosmologists and stuff like that, I'm saying it's the cosmologist. I can't even remember what I say it stands for, right? The coronal mass ejection charts, and it's made by cosmologists. And I say then cosmologists are the guys that write horoscopes. All completely wrong. Anyway, Peter Schiff, the guy that invented the Schiff pitchfork and hates Bitcoin. That's again wrong. Says that hey, look, we've got this line. Now, this is an ever so slightly sort of negative type slope on this thing. Just to bear that in mind, we've got a couple of lines. This would be the main channel that you'd be looking at, the main sort of reference points. But of course, the upper warning line, and then if we were to extend it on beyond using that sort of parallel channel, or indeed just copying and pasting this thing, you could do this sort of thing just if you wanted to. There's various targets towards the top side that we could easily look at. Just leave it like this. Pardon me, like the 12,500 and the 12,900. Which will be, of course, what everybody's talking about as coming in next or whatever else. But I just think it'd be a little bit premature at this point here to get too carried away with that. Now, of course, things could just dive up, skyrocket up there. In which case, you might look back and say, but Rocky said it was bit early to look at that. And then I'd be wrong. Sure, right? Okay, because we're not perfect, and we're wrong. And it's a good idea to actually kind of keep an eye out for being wrong and whatever else. So it could go on up to those ones. But in the meantime, let's just kind of like put a little bit of extra weight on top of this. Should we come up towards this area for the 100% retrace on this thing, going up towards that 886, then thereafter at the 86 being at 11,980, and of course then this coming in at 12,108. So people who are thinking about shorting it at 12k, they've got a decent idea there, and the reason would be because of these, just as an example reason, because this isn't the only reason on the charts, as we talk about so often. Like I've only introduced the pitchforks into the show in terms of yesterday. There's always a million different reasons, and this is one of them. Right. Okay. So, but where are we in relation to the other one that we're talking about, the inside triangle? As you can see here, there was a possibility that we could have been in this, and this would be the very sort of bearish outcome from this move up had we just kind of gone straight back down again. Then you'd be looking at it sort of kind of in and around these areas, maybe staying in the parallel in the sort of the middle channel area of this, down towards that 21 EMA. Maybe you'd find your feet in around about the sort of the 100% retrace this direction, or 0%, whatever you want to call it. But we've not done that. We've actually moved quite significantly outside of that area. So, you could say that it's just purely a coincidence that we popped right up towards the top here in the shift one. But I would say it's probably not so much of a coincidence that these things always seem to have a sort of harmony to them. If we go to the original one, though, where does that take us? And it takes us right up towards the median line. Now, we didn't quite touch it. We didn't quite touch it there. Maybe we still will. It's 11,690. We'd only take an extra $90 to get up there, $70, $60 to get up there, and touch that one. Maybe when we could be looking at around about various other sort of targets like we spoke about. Of course, these labels don't match up whenever I'm changed the type. By the way, obviously this would have to be changed manually. But yeah, so anyway, that's kind of what I'd be looking to at the minute on this one. Will we see this operate then just right now, right here, right now? And if we did, then that was putting in a sort of a lower high potentially. If we come back down and revisit this area, then you'd really have to be concerned about where you see the close happen. So a close, for instance, at sort of 11k flat would make it look like perhaps we're coming in for a downward trend thereafter. So we can keep an eye out for all of that in the meantime. And if things do just skyrocket away off, well then they do. You just have to accept that. But if you're looking to trade this in the meantime, well then maybe those are some targets to look to. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor, none of this financial advice. Do highly recommend you hitting that subscribe button though. Ethereum, $400. There we go. Let's take a look at Ethereum now, and look at this. Look at this. Whoop. This has been very much towards the top side, right? What have we got here? We've got a slightly diminishing. Wait, we could have looked at other things like divergence. Do you want to? Oh, it's hard to know. I can't actually hear the answer you're sending back at me. You might be saying, "No, Rocky, move on with the show. Move on with the show." You might be saying, "Yes, I need to see. Are we divergent at the minute?" We'll not do that though. We're going to look at it here on Ethereum because we have got this continually upward movement here, and at some point I wonder if there's going to be any showing up on this thing. It's hard to say because we don't really have a local high at the minute though. So we'll go down to the lower time frames in a second, take a look at that. Just want to kind of point out the fact that we're at that $400 area, and of course we look currently to be coming in here to sit in a close above the 236. Now, can we maintain that for more than a day? That's going to be a key question. If we do, things are quite positive because, as we've been talking about overall, the Ethereum has slightly been leading the market here in turn, leading the market. It's obviously not leading the market, right? It's just leading. But that's what people say. People have been saying that Ethereum's leading the market. Well, Ethereum and Bitcoin are going. I've got a harmony between them, and Ethereum seems to be slightly ahead of Bitcoin in that sense. But they're not leading the market because the market includes everything where you see the Bitcoin dominance chart. It doesn't make sense, that phrase. But hey, cheers. If if the taxonomy and trading made sense, then people whatever. So looking up to what we're looking at, we'll go down to the lower time frames. Let's just check in with this so far though and see where we are. Currently, we've ticked around above the stochastics here, which is positive as well. So there's lots of positivity here, but I'm feeling like that to enable us to go on, we're going to have to do that sort of counterintuitive positivity thing, where we go back up to the sort of all-time highs here on here on the charts. Given that we came in here and we put in an all-time high on the stochastics. Is that right? Am I legit saying that? Just have to quickly check. No, we didn't put an all-time high in on the stochastics, but we got damn well close to it. Okay, so at 97, because looking back the way, I think the last time we probably spoke, no, I wasn't making videos back then. So the last time we were above it here, it was over, is that even right? Yeah, we're only marginally above it back in September 2019. And then before then it was 20th of August 2017. So seeing pullbacks from this area is not uncommon, and if we were to be looking at this one and saying that we want to go up higher, and if this inflection zone here was to constitute your previous lower, higher low or your local area in this little inflection zone, then you'd be saying that you'd be coming in here quite likely with some bearish divergence on that one. But let's just go down the time frame so we can get a better look at the shape of this as well, because we know that this is consolidating in amongst this area and it could still be doing that. So what's the question? What are we asking here about this? Have we managed to consolidate and then move towards the top side past this 236, getting a sort of breakout? Well, looking at the volume here, you can see it's still diminishing, that it hasn't. That we know that these lines are subjective. I could have drawn it in sort of technically the wrong place somehow. Maybe it's actually should be a little bit higher or lower. Maybe I'm wrong about it. I'm not some sort of god. So all of that, was this wrong? Was it more of a symmetrical triangle? Well, I don't like cutting through that body there, but or was it less of a symmetrical, more of an ascending triangle? I don't like cutting through that body there, but regardless, that would be the sort of the bullish outlook on this at the minute, where you'd be expecting to move up towards the top side, and we've not had that yet. What would it be if you were to get that though? Just straight first off, looking at this here, drag that up so it's visible, then that takes you up to 435. If you're to drag this down to sort of 60% of that, you could be looking at that 420 area. We spoke about that before. So if you want to see Ethereum get high in its prices, you're looking for closes above 420. Okay, and if it's not going to get high, then it's not. Have you ever traded Ethereum, man? Yeah, but have you ever traded Ethereum on weed? Anyway, so hit like if you like Half Baked. Good movie, funny movie. Very much dated sense of humor though, perhaps now. I don't know. But then again, so am I. Dated sense of humor has just become dad humor eventually, so I suppose I'll have to go and steal some kids or something like that. Right, so yeah, right, now cool to get them to laugh at my jokes. So not that they'll have watched Half Baked, they'll just think I'm an idiot. So yeah, that's our questions that we're asking here. If we do that, then that's that. If not, moving down towards the downside, if this were to sort of be a thing, which I don't really think, I think this is a bit of an unfair way of doing this pattern, by the way, as I spoke about, it doesn't really qualify with that, it doesn't really, but hey, you could be looking down at 350 or indeed down to sort of the 375 area. Neither of those things particularly change anything on a bigger picture time frame. If we're looking at this high versus the previous high, again, pardon me, by the way, none of this is, this is the unfair nature of what we're doing here. Like, look, if we just kind of look at this, if we're looking at this way, right? We're looking at it this way, where we're just kind of like, yeah, man, this is what we've got on the go at the minute, then that's one thing, right? It just doesn't work very well, does it? If we're looking at it, though, more like this, then it kind of changes the overall picture quite a bit. But this would be the sort of the bullish type mentality of things, and it doesn't really change the macro picture or break out of that either way. This would be more like something that could maybe have an impact on the macro picture, Take that measure and stick it over here and just say, imagine we broke out of this thing because we just say we did it real soon, then that could be taking you all the way down to 333. Indeed, if it was sort of the 60% thing, you could be looking at these 360s. That might be enough to kind of change things around. And indeed, if you're looking at that, it could be up to that 420, 430 area where you can get high. Or it could be looking up to wherever, what we're talking about, like 450 or something like that. Yeah. So like 460 possibly could be where you'd be looking up to next. If that were to happen, in that sort of area. But at the same time, I don't really like any of that. Diminishing volume here as we're going up, which is okay, right? Again, we spoke about this before as well. It's okay to have diminishing volume if these things are drying up, in advance of perhaps ticking past an inflection point. What you really need to see happen is for the volume to come in, and we've not really had that happen here as we've moved up past this 236 area quite yet. So maybe it's more about like, can we get closes above $400? And there's a psychological number, so close to that to say 390 is maybe 390 is being a bit generous on it to call it that. Maybe we really need to see the close above 400. I don't know. What does that boil down to for this look across the markets, big picture chat? Well, all it boils down to is two things. If we see Ethereum dropping down and we see Bitcoin dropping down here, for instance, say Bitcoin came up to where we have, as you can see, there's multiple different ways of looking at these things, where we had this parallel channel beforehand and found rejection here right on the cusp of it, and then went down the way thereafter at the same time as Ethereum having doing that, and then rejecting the 236 at the same time. Maybe we see the Bitcoin dominance have a bit of a pullback on it as well. as we currently have for today so far, and with the alts kind of rallying thereafter. It's impossible for me to tell without doing a bunch of work that I can't be bothered doing, I suppose, probably, where the money flow is operating in terms of coming from sort of fiat into the crypto world and then being distributed. Bear in mind as well, by the way, if you're new to this whole trading gambit, that the market cap of a coin is really just the last traded price multiplied by the circulating supply. Obviously, that doesn't reflect the true value. If everybody went to sell or everybody went to buy at once, that would obviously change, because the interaction between the supply and demand is what determines the price, not a snapshot of it times by its total circulation. It isn't really. So when you see these things in terms of the dominance, really, it's not real, although it's as real as it can be. Right, so shall we move on past Ethereum and now we've done Ethereum and Bitcoin? So that's the daddy section taken care of. Let's take a look then a bit closer at Chailnink. I just want to give people the confidence, by the way, to do this themselves. Did I look at the Ethereum? Get your structure right, Rocky. I'm not really a big fan of the lines I've got on here. I'm not a big fan of that, by the way. Just want to be clear about this. I think I was quite clear about that. Looking at this, if we come up here and we go higher than $408, then we're really going to have to push up to this zone. This is what I was saying on the daily time frame, to really go up to like the all-time highs in terms of stochastics, and the RSI as well. Same story there, looking to the left, yada yada yada. You can do this on your own charts. So we'd have to really push it to get past that area. Now, of course, I think the liquidity would dry up in terms of supply side, and if we look over towards the big time frames here, I'll go up to the weekly time frame here on the Coinbase chart, you can see for why I would talk like that. That sorry, just thought I would say that. I thought I would mix my words up and then say why I would talk like that for sort of a joke to myself. Anyway, made myself laugh. So you can see for why I would talk like this way. and things, because we'd be looking up toward, you can see the way that this here massive amounts of movements over smaller periods of time, relatively speaking, much smaller movements over a longer period of time with numerous more of them. It wouldn't take a genius to figure out how the VPVR would look in this section. Of course, there's an inflection in there about the $500 zone, as you would expect, with it being 500 frickin' finger licking dollars, having come all the way up from 77 finger licking dollars. That was a tasty dollars. That was the day that I fell out with Coinbase. And then you'd be looking at perhaps those $700 targets. Of course, people thought like this back here in June 2019. People thought when you were getting supported here at $395, they thought mega cheap. We've been at, we're $1,000 higher recently. This is mega cheap. This isn't going to happen. And drop down. People didn't disbelief all the way down, all the way to here. Complete disbelief. Complete and absolutely until utter capitulation at this point. Then we moved up and down again. So could this happen? Well, yeah, this is a serious point in the market, right? Link. So we talked about 84k. That was obviously an important deal for us. And where have we seen the prices coming up as high as? Well, they came up to the 786 and they sacked back down. They're now just finding themselves below the 618 golden pocket zone here. It's not too much of a shocker, really, overall, and that we're back down below the 236 over here. We're at 82,500. 84k, we can call it, is an important area. If it doesn't line this up with 84k, it'd be maybe a bit better. 84k, let's stick it like that. Put a wee line coming off of it and everything, make it look kind of jazzier. 84k, that's so bad. It's not even at 84k, is it? There, 84k. Right, whatever. Who cares? So anyway, that's an important area. Yeah. That's what makes it easy to manage your risks. Longs, shorts, everything around that area, you can manage it. Sure you can. You've watched enough of these episodes to know how you would think about that, I'm sure. If you haven't, the reason why is perhaps because you haven't hit that subscribe button yet. Note to the wise, click it. So, word to the wise. Shut up, Brave. If you're curious, by the way, let's just check it out. Brave rewards this month, 20. I've got 20, $5.29. How about that? Close that crap down. Thanks, Brave. So So yeah, what are we talking here? So, oh, by the way, if you do use Brave, then you don't see the adverts on the YouTube. So maybe you want to tip me as a verified creator dude or whatever. Do I have this on my? If I click on my channel, can I see it? Can I see it? Like, yeah, I'm a verified thingy. Send me a tip. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. Sorry, shilling myself. Right, yeah, this is a key area. Let's look down the time frames. We're going to have to pick up the pace a wee bit because we've not said much. Looking here, oh, we've come right down and touched the 21 EMA, finding our support just in here. Wouldn't that be nice if we saw that this was just, stair stepping up the way, right? Looking healthy, looking healthy, healthy, and then beyond and healthy. Wouldn't that be nice from the broader perspective? Just kind of like, wouldn't that be nice if the Fibonacci's and whatever else here were just kind of giving us a clue, but at the same time, ultimately, what it boiled down to was the upward price action here. We got divergence. There's a sort of touch of it here in the MACD. The DMI maybe maybe it came in with like a sort of touch of it, but not really. Just like this, the sort of the weakness that came in here at the very top of this area. It's fine because like that's kind of how you might expect. It's kind of what you might think, in and around these sorts of zones up there, 88k and all the rest of it. Well, almost 90k anyway, and then it sank back down a bit, having achieved the targets that we had in mind. The 786 and everything else. You might have thought like here coming into these areas, there's going to be a hard area for it and whatever, and maybe we'll get a bit of a pullback. Looking at the dollar pricing, you can see as well in that area is $10. That we got pullback at $10. Like people talking about $10. A lot of people wanted to take profit at $10. It got up to $9.97. Do you think the people saying $10 is where I'm taking profit, where I put in their orders at $10 flat, they were probably thinking to themselves, I've got this, I'm going to put it in at $9.96. Missing out on 4 cents, but I'm making it $10. Everybody who wanted to get in at $10 though, they get out at $10 or even $9.99. Yeah, well, sucks to be you. So you get the point, right? So that's why you could see that weakness coming in at around about there anyway. Not much of a surprise. Kind of depends how we find our feet thereafter, if we find our feet, that is, at all. Moving up just like, in this zone. I'd like to see the prices ultimately stay above $9.36. If it's got to hit the 21 EMA over the next wee while, that'd be cool. If we do go down past that zone, I'm looking towards 880, as a sort of area for it, but then all of that is putting in a higher low overall. If we do move on past that, I'll be looking for higher lows to be coming in anywhere into this zone, anywhere down towards $8 really. So there's still opportunities to buy in. That'd be a 20% discount from the $10 pricing, but this is a bull trend, that we've been in. And if we even go up to the weekly time frame and sort of zoom out, this is a bull market. Always has been. Have you seen that? Always has been. Chailnink is in a bull market, man. Get behind. Always has been. So good stuff, right? Yeah, anyway, I suppose this doesn't really inform us of much. Let's go looking more across the markets. Go over to Tezos and zoom in and see how we're going. So this is the weekly time frame. What have we got here in the go? I wouldn't like to see sort of head and shoulders, like a shoulder, head, shoulder, with on the broad time frame perspective. This is maybe something to look out for, just because we're here now. Diminishing volume, but then a big increase here on the right hand shoulder is a bit much, really. This volume increase is a bit much at that point there. But you could call the 24k area sort of neckline anyway. But I think that we kind of feel that anyway. You've been watching the episodes, right? So we've been talking about this for months now, and that 24k is obviously a significant area where you want it to find its feet. If not, then I'm gonna have to go down the time frames here. 24 time frame. So this is what, against the Bitcoin? Yeah, well, we saw this pullback, came up here, hit off of this thing that was a 382 we talked about already. Cool. So we've not made it back up as high as the neckline yet of this Adam Eve effort that we had on the chart in the past. Dollar pricing, look at that, it's moved back up above the 786 since we've been chatting. $3.20. You want to see closes up here, these areas. We're talking in the Discord, a lot of people talking in the Discord, seeing it coming down here towards 311, having a bit of a lull about it, saying, we were looking at this yesterday, saying up at 330 and saying, 330, here we are again. 330, war next for Tezos. Oh, it's going to be $3.09. Shout out to Shout out to, how do you say your name, man? How do you say your name? Litters the Fiend. I mean, I can't remember. I just see a collection of letters. I don't even read the name properly. That's what I used to do with Tezos when I first started off. I was just like, I don't even know. I'm just like, just it's a word. Anyway, sorry, man, getting your name wrong. We were all having a little chat in there in the Tezos discussion in the Discord, about where we could go next. 311, 330, this area here, we found support at it. I'm sorry I didn't chip in and say at the time, hey, look, we could actually find support here at this area. I want to see closes above this 786 in here, right? I do. I want to see us moving up the way. I want to see all that. I want to see this, this high here being respected. But if we do go in for a higher low, I have to be aware that this could, it could offer up a shorting opportunity. Like people were talking about, coming back down to a couple areas, for instance, a retest of this ascending triangle line down the way, perhaps the 50% retrace area, perhaps coming in again at the golden pocket. But we've been so close to that already. I'd be looking more towards, all the way down to here would potentially be an okay long opportunity, flipping that around as we went past this point here to maybe push it down towards the $3 or even the 290 and 280 and stuff like that, because that's the next areas down the way if we do go down the way, So, but then if we don't, then we're looking up towards what we talked about recently at 350 and stuff like that. There's the 1272 coming in at 350, for instance. Where was it I wanted to have the 1272 earlier? Where was that? Because I spoke about it. Was it Bitcoin? Was it Ethereum? Was it Ethereum? Was it Litecoin? Not Litecoin. Was it Chainlink? Chainlink? Where did I say it? I'm sorry that my brain's broken, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Was it Tezos that we were looking at that I said it? 127. Yeah, here. I wanted to have the 1272 on this thing because I've talked about it enough, right? Just have to take this one and change it. 1.2272. Okay, cool. I couldn't be bothered, and you can see then that it comes in at 950, and that's right where we found we've come back down to. And if we get closes above that, then that could be quite good. So I suppose that's that story covered for us that we wanted to cover. So the Bitcoin, so yeah. Anyway, so these two operating similar to each other is interesting, and we can see that the prices have come back down towards this 236. I want to see it closing above that, right? So that's what I want to see. 27,050. That'd be nice. We're 8 satoshis away, or actually 800 away from that at the minute, and that would be good, but we're at the mercy of the other parent for this one. It's like, so it kind of boils down to what we spoke about before, and of course it's kind of looking at the dollar parent is good. So let's just move away from that where I've got all that noise and look back here. We know then as well these areas being significant at $3.20. 317 where I have that line at the minute, moving down past that area is going to they're going to be looking towards that $3 area. This is making it has made it very easy to trade in the past. Like thinking here, profit taking and around there. We'd be happy to take profit at 315 for instance, moving up there, seeing it going past 315, maybe we're looking up to 330, then it comes back down from there, maybe we're looking down to 350, maybe we're looking down the way to $3, Made it very easy, right? I think we can all agree. And that story continues, right? We haven't had a higher high in here so far. If you're wondering, by the way, I did eat spaghetti and stuff earlier. I've got red face. So let's check in with our pal on the BTC chart. Now I like it. It's full of madness. Okay, so I haven't cleaned this chart up, so just live with it. And you can see here that we don't have that high. Just look at this: high, lower high, lower high, versus the thingies high, slightly lower, then higher. Just clear this, all the drawings away. Higher close, dun, dun, dun. Over here on BTC, lower, lower, lower. Right now, of course, this doesn't mean everything, but this is just one of these things that we like to do on the show. We like to make a little comparative and contrast and just say, well, hey, look, if this is this case, is this lower at some point? It's equal low. So, but we could call this a downtrend slightly and just say, well, looking at the lows in this is an equal low, right? It's equal. And this came lower. So it would, if it had gone lower, you'd say that it was definitely just convergent and everything else. If this turns into an upward trend and catches up, springs back up the way, it's $2.99 at the minute, 20 cents off of the other ones. If we spring back up the way, this could translate into hidden bullish divergence, potentially, right? Could potentially do that. Is obviously dragging quite slow behind. Is this though putting our fingers on the pulse of things, just keeping us aware that potentially we could see that pull back down, like we were talking about in the group there, to sort of the $3.09 area again on the sort of where this is traded charts. Could that still happen? Well, we're still on for that, just dropping down below 320 over there on Binance at the moment. So anyway, that's something to be interested in, I think, potentially. 24-hour time frame, it's this great golden cross ever since there, haven't really dictated the price action, but we could still always visit the 200. If we did, that'd be 233, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Be more concerned about the 264 area. Where are we looking at in terms of the 50 simple and the other chart? Looking over there, it's coming in at 275. Well, that would be, again, 275. We spoke about this a lot recently as well. That would be, I think, a very good buying opportunity at the minute. Certainly very easy to manage your risk in and around that zone. But that was back then, and we've done all that now. I'd say 299 at the yellow EMA would be your best buying opportunity coming up in the next wee while. But let's take a look at some other coins then, shall we? What do we want to do? I know that there'll be people out there that want to look at Algo, so let's just dive on over to it, because Tony, who inspired yesterday's episode, likes Algo. So we'll take a look at it. 24-hour time frame, we're up above the 21 EMA. You can see here we came down here and we've really struggled around this line. We've put in the work. The Algorians, Algonites out there have put in the work to keep this above the 21 EMA. With some shocking moves all the way down to the 144 EMA over there in the 24-hour time frame. We don't see that very often, and when I do see it, then we mention it, because this EMA never really gets a look in. Came all the way down there and turned around there at 25.99 all the way up to the 33 again, where we find ourselves 35 almost, actually 34.58. So this is against the USD pricing. So we've managed to maintain the positivity that we initiated when we first moved above this over back on the 6th of July. Just we've done it with a lot of scares in the meantime. So is this waxing or waning, is it waxing or waning, this move here, overall? That's what we've got to try and figure out a little bit. Let's see though, in terms of these things, the ADX coming all the way down, it's up there still above 20, of course. And these two look like they could be coming right in for a cross. They have actually crossed there as well. So could we see this sort of pick up the way? It would be nice if we did. It'd be nice if we did see this, if we saw this kind of, crossing over and then going up and kind of, taking the prices on up with them, like we saw back at the start of July when we kind of went up a bit and then had jump up the way. That'd be nice if we saw a repeat of that over again. I'm going to have to keep a serious eye out for that 40 cents area where we were in the past. As you can tell, with this coming in with the shoulders area in the past as well, this head and shoulders, it's quite obvious head and shoulders that's here on the charts. It'd have to bear in mind, by the way, I say there's quite an obvious head and shoulders, but I'd just like to point out that during this head and shoulders there was an overall rise in the volume. So while you were looking at that, you would have been right to say, hey, this isn't a very good head and shoulders. So just bear that in mind. But obviously you don't need these things to be perfect. Quite a lot of people talk about these things, they don't even have the volume on at the same time as they're talking about them. There's a lot of people just don't care about volume. I do. Yeah, what have we got then? This is all these patterns that we've had on here. These are obviously on the lower time frames. What have we got? Well, jeeps, and then come on up. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm struggling at the minute to really come up with stuff to say about this, but obviously I have to think about things as I'm talking, don't I? This are obviously all must have been on some other time frame because they don't match up. Sorry, right? Don't want to drag down the quality of the show, so let's just keep it going. Up, 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 right? Up, up, up. That's not divergent. Up, up, up. That's not divergent. A little divergence here in the MACD with this move up the way, and we're okay in the and the DMI is looking okay as well. So that's been quite good, really, overall. And we're still maintaining 21. We just come back down and visit an awful lot of times. That's cool. We're going past this point here, which is clearly like a big inflection point in the market where we saw the drop off eventually. Here, so that's good. These have all sort of started to span out towards the top side. We've got the golden cross on the 1 hour time frame. Pardon me. Low time frames, very good looking for this thing so far. Healthy and whatnot. When I say, we've had this big pullback, I say it's very good looking for this thing so far. And what were you looking at here? If I just look at in terms of pullback, looking at a sort of 7% pullback over the last couple of days, sure, but still it's good for this thing. Let's take a look at it versus Bitcoin. Same story, but it's slightly divergent here, isn't it? With those two highs and with this it's slightly divergent as well. And with this in the MACD, now that's what's happened here, and it's coming at this point here. So this is where we do the look across the markets. Look across the markets with Rocky Outcrop. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, because we were talking about these sorts of ideas, like where's the money coming from? You know, where's the money coming from? And we've got this high coming in, then the next one came in, and it's like, okay, cool. And then the next one came in, and it was divergent. Then we saw a 6%, 6.5%, 7% drop off in the price action as we look over towards other things like Bitcoin, and we see this upward price action, you know, during this time frame here, where we saw the prices move up the way. Kind of makes you wonder, where's that money coming from? And if people kind of anticipated that in advance, and instead of thinking, hey, I'm going to pull the money out and I'm going to stick it in USDT or whatever, given that we've had this upward rise, it's not divergent on this thing. They were looking at it, and you know, versus the Bitcoin price, and it was flooded towards Bitcoin, and didn't, and you know, more or less stayed stable in terms of the US dollar price in terms of percentage moves for the day. Interesting, is it? I don't know. You let me know in the comments down below if you find any of this valuable. If you do get that value from this thing, then take that takeaway value, then go ahead and let me know. Subscribe and all that crap. Band was one of the better performers recently. If you remember, we did an episode recently which had Algo, Band, and Lend in it, and we're talking about how there's three sort of similar ones. Band was the strongest looking of the three, I suppose, in that episode. And it's done very well. If we got towards the 24-hour time frame, we can see where it's coming in at, just above the 236, invalidating this, having come on down and got that golden pocket retrace. So this one just did it textbook style for us. Didn't actually do the golden pocket, you know, which is great. Just did the 618. I kind of always like to see that happen because, you know, it just did that purely. It's kind of like Algo, like bots trading this thing or whatever. There was and like, you know, not enough liquidations or whatever in that world. We don't have high leverage traders doing this. So didn't like push into the golden pocket. It just came down to the 618, moved up, went to the 236, and it's right where it is right now. If we see closes above this thing, I could expect to see kind of maybe perhaps, you know, think about seeing moves towards the top side. But I would be curious as well if we just see it close where it is right now. It's doing a good job, not going any higher, because counterintuitively you don't want to see this move any higher and close up there, because as you can see quite clearly that would be very much bearishly divergent if it closed up there and then dropped down there afterwards. If it closes up here and then continues to go towards the top side, then coolish schmooly, there'll be no divergence there. It'll just like, you know, whatever, and then we could maybe be looking up towards these higher up targets in terms of a retracement on that one. Let's just get rid of this guy here for now, though. We know that this is the 236 was coming in there at 46.52, so just bear that in mind. Remove. I think this is fairly illiquid asset, although it's got a nice enough chart there on the 24-hour time frame without too many gaps in it or anything. The 1 hour time frame isn't all just, you know, lines. What about this one? Is this just sorry, just checking in. So even on the 1 minute chart, you can see we've got actual candles. Just drawing a comparison between something like that and where's our pal Hot? You know, this is Hot's time. This is how Hot looks. You know, this is like bare bones, right? You know, very much scraping the barrel for in terms of liquidity. So you know you've got enough here to be saying that this is decent. Well, it was a 5 minute, who cares, whatever. So up to this thing, if we see closes above that 236, that'd be decent and whatnot. Let's do a couple of, you know, as you can tell, get your guesses in now for how far we've come up, right? Get your guesses in now. I'm going to draw a Fibonacci on here. You've got time to get your guess in, so we're going to do it wick to wick, by the way, just so you know. Have you got your guess in? 3, 2, 1, let's draw this down. Here we go. So the prices are right here at the golden pocket, right jam-packed into the golden pocket, having come up here and touched the 786 and pulled back down the way. Did you guess that? If you did, give yourself a pat on the back. That's 10 points to you. In fact, that's 552 points, 600 stars, and a can of Iron Brew. That's what you win for that. Great. So does this kind of add up to the story to anybody? So like from the positive type side of things, wanting to see this move up past this area. I think maybe, you know, the bots and whatever that are trading this, or whoever's trading it, will maybe carry it on. Maybe they're just looking pure textbook style at this one. Fair enough. Big targets then in that sense become these three towards the top side, right? We'll call it 64, 69, 74, right? That's what we'll call that. Actually, no, we'll call it 65, 78, and 75, right? Pardon me, excuse me. That's what we'll call them. If we see the prices continue towards the top side, let's look at this versus the USD. The USD oozed. Does anybody remember? Did anybody watch Facejacker and Phonejacker back in the day on in the UK? Did you, or even around the world? If you've not seen Phonejacker before, go give it a wee Google after you watch this episode, or YouTube. Search for YouTube Phonejacker. What's funny ones like the mouse? You know, the mouse phoning up the pest, the agency or whatever. The guy. £20, how much for the fridge or whatever. I don't know, whatever. I can't do the jokes, you know. Just very, very funny. By the bimbo, I would like a window by the bimbo. Yes. People from the rest of the world watching this episode are like, what is that guy on about, man? Check it out, Facejacker. Phonejacker was the original. Back whenever prank calls were a thing. Are prank calls still a thing? I don't know. I remember downloading that. You kicked my dog MP3 when I was like 12. Your daughter, she came to my house and she kicked my dog. Did you ever hear that one? Leave a comment down below if you ever heard that one. So yeah, what am I doing here, man? I do that. I go on a big tangent and I forget. Yeah, so these three coins, that was kind of what we're looking at. Band was the best one of the three, right? Sound, fair enough. Lend, also very good. But does it mean that it's the best, or has this had its rise up? You know, we're curious about this one. You know, maybe it's done all it needs to do. Put in higher highs over here currently, and they're looking like they're divergent versus the dollar pricing, right? So this is pushed on while the other market or the rest of the market hasn't. This is a bit stronger, moving stronger than the rest of the market, but at the same time, you know, maybe we're going to see maybe this will get a pullback soon because this is coming in with a bit of bearish divergence while a lot of the other alts have suffered somewhat or whatever, you know. So maybe the money's just moved into this one and a bit of exuberance has brought it up here and it hasn't got the legs perhaps to go on past this point here. It's divergent across the board there. I'd be curious about this one. Of course, that's just a warning sign. Instead, what we're going to be looking out for is kind of, you know, moving towards the downside. So I'd say taking out the low of this previous candle's wick over here at 479. That's obviously a big distance away, could lead then to much more drops down if you want to play it safe trading wise. Maybe if you want to be aggressive about it, I'd look at just coming up towards where the previous Fibonacci kind of ended at the previous high over there at 524. If we draw this in to match up though, then if you want to be sort of the safest about it, then I would look to 465, maybe take a play from 465 for a move down to 392 or 335 or 278, 268 if we actually go down the way to you know, for a thing. But that would be like a quite a strong reversal against this, was been very, very, very positive. But you know, there's warning signs there to be made aware of. And I'm sure that we could find more warning signs if we wanted to. But you know what, looking at the lower time frames, they're not too bad. It's definitely divergent here though on the RSI, DMI, MACD, stochastics not so much, but we're trending at the minute. So I would say that the other ones have got the weight on them. You maybe want to look at Lend again. I should have maybe spent more time looking at Ripple, though Ripple's interesting for people. We'll go take a look at Ripple if I haven't already in a minute here. I think I did look for it for a second. Lend, you know, moving towards the top side here, got this sort of pattern on the go. Looking at this, kind of asking questions. Am I being too much by taking it from all the way back there a little bit? We just take it from kind of this area instead, instead of like, you know, we'll let people who are trading this themselves, you know, do it in more detail. We just give it a sort of example here. Coming up towards this area, could be looking at a breakout fairly soon from this thing. Got divergence there on this high versus the previous one on the stochastics, and indeed on well, that maybe is divergent. Can't really be bothered zooming in on the RSI as well. Looks like it's just a tight. It's a tight thing, a tight call here with the DMI. Maybe a little bit of it, but you know, the ADX has now gone up above 20 again, and we've had and we're you can see these things diverging slightly, while at the same time the price action's really just kind of, you know, shrinking into this zone. I feel like somewhere in this area here we could get a move outside of the zone, you know. Wonder how the relationship will work with the price action between Band and these other ones at the same time. You know, if we saw a big pullback in that, would that signal a pullback in these other ones as well, for instance, or would it just be the over exuberance of the sort of the money flowing out of Band and into other things around that time? I wonder about it. If we were to get a move off the back of this, though, it could be fairly big. So let's just do the measured move stick and look up towards the top side first, because we're all bullas at heart. And that's at 411. Move this down to about 60%. You're looking at about 40. Right, maybe somewhere between 35 and 40. Probably did that really quite badly. I'm gonna have to measure this again. What's that? 32 to 40. So that's 8. So 60% of that could be about 5. So talking like 37 towards the top side. Let's go for a move towards the downside. This would be taking us down past this, which is a 236, right enough, right? So if we saw that, but then again, do we want that in there? Maybe this is in the wrong place. It should be slightly higher. Let me just yeah, that should be slightly higher. All right. Okay. So yeah, movements outside of this triangle. Closing down wicks below these previous wick. Bodies closing below these wicks on this chart here could be quite negative for us. I'd look at the in terms of like the fake out territory from this one. There isn't a great deal of it. Between this area and our previous and where the measured moves takes us to. I'd be more curious about this if it broke towards the downside of it. What would happen with the dynamic with it when it got towards that half measuring stick type thing? If it goes to the full one, then we're looking down for a 50% retrace. I would have thought, in around that zone. Maybe just going for somewhere in this zone here, looking at our previous lows over at 22. That might be interesting if that does happen. But if we go towards the top side, we've got to keep an eye out for our previous high as well, of course. We already talked about this. That's 337. So of course, this inflection here. I think this consolidation period that's happening here is quite easily sort of represented by the measured move off the back of the triangle, kind of wrapping in together with where our previous highs were on this thing and our previous lows. So just to kind of bear in mind that that there's people looking at either of these areas, and this is the sort of the sort of the agreement, like the phase of it. Now we need to, or the disagreement phase of it, where we've got half the people looking up at that area, half the people looking in that area that disagree. Let's see which side wins the tug of war on that one. I mean, could similar things be said about Algo as well? We've got this channel, I suppose, we really ought to look at. This is the dollar price. Let's just get a parallel channel out here. Draw it towards the top side. I've done that really badly. Whatever. Really just looking up towards these zones. How will we cope? How will we cope with them? I'd like to see us going past the median line, so that'd be 33, up towards the highs at 35, staying up above in terms of the next few days, the low 30s, 32, 33, 34 over the period of the next few days. That's what I'd like to see happening if we want to stay in this zone, moving up towards the top side. And anything movements past 37 are going to be quite, potentially quite bullish, and movements down below 32 are going to be quite bearish or whatever in that sense. Is there anything else we should look at? People often ask about ADA after ADA. What did we call it, Tony, there when we were talking about it last week? Ada Lovelace. Ada Lovelace. Byron's bird. So he was probably better rated than Byron. Byron had a stupid name. It sounds like a biro. Stuff like that. Also, I don't like Byron Burger. It's overpriced and not good enough quality. I'd rather go to Burger King. What am I doing? All right, yeah, we're going to take a look at this real quick. We'll wrap up soon enough, by the way. I've gone on for quite a while, right? Haven't I? Have I? Right, we came above the 236, went up to 382 on that one, dropped back down again. We're at our key support area at 1218. Movements down below 1218, I think could see the prices going back down towards that 1150 area. Movements up above the 236 are what I'm really looking for. See if there's any profit taking in happening in it, that 1259 area. It's only 20 more sort of Satoshis or whatever up from where we are now. But if we do manage to achieve that, then perhaps we could be looking back up towards that 382. The three targets thereafter are going to be the sort of 38, 30, what was that? Sorry, 1323, 1323, 1374 and 1430 just in general as the three targets on that one. But versus the US dollar, how are we doing here on this one? Got that double twin peaks there. You're going to call this like a cup with handle or a really, really small one? There isn't a drop down beforehand, or I'd look at it as being a bump and run perhaps, though we don't have a lead in phase on that one. You want to call it a cup with handle? It's pretty cringy start to it if that's to be the case. We've obviously come very high in terms of the Fibonacci retracements and whatnot. In terms of the channel, we call that roughly where we're looking at. Staying above 14 is pretty damn good. Moving up to 15 would be bullish. Moving down below 13 would be bearish, you could say. And Yeah, we're managing to maintain above the 236 currently, and we're above the 21 EMA. This is the 1 hour chart. God, I forgot what I was doing. I'll go up to the 24-hour chart. See how that looks on the 24-hour chart. So I see we've just done it over this area, but we are above that 236. It's over there. That's good to see happening. I'm going to have to wrap this up soon. I'm getting a bit tired, you know. Have I done a good enough look across the markets? Do we want to look at something else? Like, how's the US dollar? Oh, whoops, this is my little tale of woe I shared. I've got a channel inside the Discord called Arse Smoke for blowing smoke up your own arse when you want to show off good trade. I also think it's probably a decent idea for people to talk about bad trades that they made. I made a bad one on the USDJPY prices. Not that I didn't know what was going to happen with the price action. I just, obviously I'm raging with myself, as I say there. Just hide all that. Stupid trade I messed up. Anyway, this was clearly a good sign. We've managed to maintain it above the 236 over there. So the US dollar is maybe going to start getting a bit of positive price action with it. If we can maintain that, then I think that the US dollar will pick up some strength. You know, we saw this movement up the way. We see this little dip off the way. Just in terms of the US dollar. Now, what am I doing here, by the way? So looking at the strength of the US dollar versus what has been more off against another currency. Let's just not go into too much detail. Looking at the strength of the US dollar. That's what I'm trying to do, right? And there'd be various ways of doing that. One of them is sort of like this, and we can kind of compare like that to how the sort of the Bitcoin price action is like, you know, gone, you know, went down here a few days ago, then it's come up gradually to where we are now. And you could look at the US dollar versus JPY. Now, this isn't what I recommend anyone doing, but you can see how there's an inverted relationship there between this and the other one. So interesting. Let's take a look at this and see if we get strength and rebounding strength in the US dollar, moving up towards prices that, you know, if we look at this thing over the longer period of time, we're very much at lows, you know, in terms of going back. Let's stick it up. Well, actually, you know, going back to 2014, you know, 2016, stuff like that. We've not really had the lows, but we had this big drop down here on the 8th of March, 2020. So that's the big drop down that we experienced in terms of everything. The world, you know, and Bitcoin went down too. What if we have an inverted relationship at this point, though? Well, we had a correlated one there. Wouldn't that be interesting? Let's try and keep an eye out and see if that turns out to be the case. What other things are there to talk about? There's ultra low cap shit coins you might be interested in. DREP. I was kind of interested in this recently myself, just thinking about in terms of ultra low cap trades like crap coin, you know, is crap like or whatever. But I was interested in a bit of crap. They can see that we're the 200 has just started to appear here in the 24-hour time frame on this one. We've only got a few dots of that. Four days we've had a 200 moving average. 21's a bit drop below it. If we see some uptake on this, then I think that you could get some good price action in terms of like, you know, just in terms of like tripling your account value and stuff like that. It's easier done. You know, if we go up towards our previous highs there and around that zone, say if we go up for a 786 retracement, you're looking at doubling your money. More than. So, you know, interesting on that one, but it's obviously a real crap coin, and managing your risk on these things slightly harder in the sense that, you know, there's not very much liquidity there. So the volatility and whatnot is kind of, it's difficult to put your finger on the pulse of it. What about ZRX? Do people want to see that crap? What did we talk about here? Well, look at ZRX and VET, I suppose, maybe. You can see all of our fuzzy lines operating perfectly in terms of the support and resistance. So maybe you're just interested, curious, like as to where I've drawn these fuzzy lines in at. And you can see then that there's 42,900, what we're going to call that, 0.429348 would be moving above that would be very positive. And the fact that we're staying above 0.385749 is also very, very good. So if we can do that and maintain that, that would be very good. But if we see the prices move below 3595590, then we'd be looking at quite a bearish case scenario with targets coming in there at 3000005 and perhaps a move up towards 4685587 would be where we'd be looking at thereafter. If we're looking up towards the top side, that's cool. That's going to do on that one. You can see the same sort of scenario as everything else. Oh, look at that. Bang. Oh, wow. So we must have had some measured move in here. People have obviously benefited from past video I did on ZRX. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. So anyway, you could probably just look back at my video history if you're interested in what that was, but we had that, that's happened now, and then we've moved towards the top side thereafter. Let's see if we can keep this going and get a bit of positivity. We've managed to do it without any divergence so far, and we're just coming back into the neutral zone there on that one. You know, we're just moving back up above sort of the very low numbers in the DMI. We're MACD is the MACD. Just let it be itself. We moved up above this. If we can close again up above, move back around above the moving average here on this one, that could be very good as well. So we could see some positivity with this one coming back into play soon. We could see things breaking down. I think that at this point, managing risk is very easy. 3,200, 3,200 on that one in terms of managing your risk towards the downside. Profit taking target early one would be 37, and then thereafter your next profit taking target is probably going to be in this zone just here, about that 4,000. What do we want to look at next? Is there anything? What did I say? I said Ripple earlier, but VET. People love a bit of VET, don't they? Great. So we came down to this target here that we said that we could do at 382, and then we moved towards the top side and we come back up above the 236, come back down to retest it and close it. So in the last couple of days, we've just moved up to where we need to see the prices above that 175. We're up at 186 at the minute. That's great. Maintain it above 175, right? If you're just looking at your sort of your Binance app or whatever, look for like 175 as being your sort of positive, negative crunch line, okay? And in terms of like moving towards the top side thereafter, we're going to have to call it 200. Movements up towards 200, very, very, very good. Very good, very happy for me in the night. Very good, very happy for me in the night. But if we draw in a wee Fibbo jobbo there, like that fat guy Fibbo. My name is Fibbo. I love Fibonacci's. I'm on YouTube and I'm overweight. I think he's probably quite a nice guy. Is he even overweight? Oh my goodness! Imagine how heartbroken you'd feel if I said that about him. Looking up here at the 618, we came up towards that zone, pulled back since it now above the 50%. We came in here. That's fair enough, So if we do continue towards the downside, then I'm looking towards this 50% line again, and the sort of and then the 236 thereafter, and the 382 as well on this one. Can look at that 175 area, very much looking towards that if that's going to be the case. And then, of course, then things get quite negative towards that 163 area where we could be going on down again just to continue this downward trend. But we come up here and hit the 618 and we're finding, a doji in here. And I think a doji is sensible enough, in around this time. We've had a bit of, there is obviously question marks. This one's maybe feeling the sort of the flux of the market in general more than other ones right now in that particular zone. What did I say then? What did I say? I said, so that's enough of looking at VET. What did I say we'd look at? Ripple. Ripple my nipples, as Crown likes to say. Crown's a good guy. Like him, by the way. If you're looking for another person to watch on YouTube, Eric Crown, look it up, Crown Trading, KROWN. You can say I sent you. He's a good guy. I'd recommend him. Good. Good. 236, good. 2917, good. Above it. We already done this one. I think we have. Hope this gives you the confidence to do this sort of thing yourself. Good. 618 retrace. Fine. Could turn around at the 236 from the 618 based off the back of that heinous wick. If people were thinking about that, if that triggered a couple of numbers in terms of the ranges for bots and whatnot, then perhaps you're looking at this having been very positive to have found our feet above that. Going to look towards 2919 as being like the key area for us. Anything above that, no reason to be bearish. That's what we'll call it. What other stuff do people want to look at? Right, okay, look, let's just pack it in, call it a day. I'm sure there's other ones that people wanted to look at. I'm sure there are. You're going to have to join the Discord and talk to me on a Tuesday evening or something like that if you want to see your coin being mentioned on a Monday. But actually, to be honest with you, they're moving that over towards the membership side of things anyway. So in the next couple of months, that won't be a thing that'll be taking requests from people anyway. It'll just rule the castle myself or whatever. So by the way, if you want to shut up, Brave. I've obviously been on here for quite a while. The stream has to end soon. It's not a stream even. It's just me chatting. If you want to go over to the channel and hit that join button, then that would be fantastic. If I just pause this here, don't have to listen to music. You can hear me talking about it here instead of me having to talk about it.
Wow, YouTube have enabled memberships on this channel. Mine thoroughly exploded. Thank you so much for even considering being a member and hitting that join button. I really do appreciate it. So of course,
Maybe I should watch my own videos at 2 times speed. I watch other people's videos on YouTube at 2 times speed, and people say to me, "Oh, you talk too quick. You talk too quick all the time." It's a thing. But as you can tell, I have it set to 2 times speed. I took it down if I'm watching, something to be entertained as well. I take it down if it's somebody like myself on YouTube who's hilarious, then I'll watch it at normal speed. Who chats at a decent speed. But I do like a bit the old 2 times speed. Oh, it's at 1.5 times. I lied. Look at that. I'm a massive liar. I watch it at 1.5 speed instead of 2 times speed. Such a liar. Such a liar. Okay, anyway. Take it away.
Wow,
Okay.
YouTube have enabled memberships on this channel. Mine thoroughly exploded. Thank you so much for even considering being a member and hitting that join button. I really do appreciate it. So of course there's now 4 membership levels you could think on the channel. There's just this
yeah, you can check that out yourself. I think what I'll do is as well, when it comes to this big old one, don't start talking, Rocky. The generous person thing, I think I'll put a little course, make a little course, put it together, so that you can sort of pay what you like kind of effort for it. Make it so that it's only available if you pay $44.99. So it'd be a 50 quid course, super cheap. I don't know, maybe I'll make a new level where it's just like the course member level and make it like 80 quid. And then you can choose which level you want to be thereafter in terms of how much value you got from the course. If you think it's a course that's worth $1,000, then you could stay on that level for a whole year, and show that value back the way. I think it'll be a course that's worth $1,000 quite easily, actually. If I make a course, it'll be something that's worth $1,000, definitely. But I would give it away almost to people, subscribers, people who join at like 80 quid a month. And then, if you think that you're not getting the value from it or it's just not worth it or whatever, then that's cool. I'm not here to hard sell anything. It's not what I want. But if I'm going to put out some value out there, I think I'll probably put a paywall in front of it, because it's like real value for people. And I see people talking in the Discord and stuff and talking out everywhere who are getting into trading, who've got enough money to pay that, no problem at all. It would save them the money as well, definitely save them the money. But they're not doing it. Do you want to see something? Oh, you won't actually see this in the video. I was going to say you want to see something. I've got a mirror over behind me there. If I just move this over slightly, you can see they've got a mirror behind me. Just if I point just there, and you can see the reflection here of it. Then I've also got a window over there. So on the mirror, I can see a reflection of my head. Just you can't see it from the camera point. The mirror freaking me out though. It's like The Haunting of Hill House. Have you seen that? I liked that show. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it. I like a horror movie thing. It's good. Never trust somebody who says they don't like horror movies. By the way, just a dating tip for you. Just don't trust them. Cool. That's it. Yeah, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you got value from this episode, hit that like button, that subscribe button. Do the join thing if you want to join and just support the channel. Throw me out some information there. Let me know what you think of everything I've said today. Super interested in what your feedback is. And yeah, I just hope that you've got some value to take away. I really do. And you can join that Discord. Links in the description, of course. And have a good day, everyone. Okay? Thank you so much. Sorry this video's out a bit late, but then again, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, does it? So that was our look across the markets with Rocky. By the way, if any of you are a musician out there, could you take the crap that I say and turn it into actual sort of something? You can imagine the medicinal benefit that would be for my head if I had these non-tunes turned into actual tunes, and I could stick them on the show for a laugh. If just for fun. Wouldn't want to take anybody's actual valuable time up. If you want to, then I could use if you want to have your thing used as a there, I can hit the button and say, look around the markets with Rocky, or like tea time with Rocky, no tea, that's fine, have coffee, and all these other songs that I make up as I'm talking. Then go ahead and do that. Anyway, I really ought to tune out because the stats will be getting killed by my waffling. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Join button right there. Subscribe button right there. Like button right there. Share it with your friends. YouTube.com/RockyOutcrop. I'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm a bit wrecked today because I was out gardening, which is good because there's definitely something antidepressant style that's in the soil, and that's good to get your hands in amongst nature. And so thanks so much. Catch you next time. Hope you like my t-shirt, by the way. I love it.